So hello, Dr. Mattias Desmet. You're the author of The Psychology of Totalitarianism. You're a professor at Ghent University in Belgium. Let's begin with the title of your book. What do you mean by totalitarianism with reference to recent global events and the historical period we're living in? And do you think we're at risk of a social regression of this kind? And do you mind pointing out the difference between dictatorship and totalitarianism, as these two are very often confused and misused terms?
Yes, of course. The distinction between a classical dictatorship and the totalitarian system is crucial, I think. The difference is situated at the psychological level. That's extremely important to understand. A classical dictatorship is based on a very primitive and psychological mechanism. It's just a population that is in the grip of fear of a small group, a dictator and his regime, because of the aggressive potential of this dictator. So this means that the point of gravity of a classical dictatorship is really situated in the dictatorship itself, in the regime. And this is radically different in a totalitarian system. In a totalitarian system, the psychological mechanism is based on a huge societal psychological phenomenon, which is usually referred to as mass formation. This means that a large part of the population is in the grip of a certain ideology or a certain narrative, which they fanatically believe in. And in this way, and from the masses, sooner or later, a kind of an elite emerges, which takes the lead of the masses. And in this way, which seizes society in general and creates a new kind of state. This happened in the first time in the beginning of the 20th century. Before the 20th century, there was no such thing as a totalitarian state. There had been classical dictatorships before, but there never existed totalitarian states. And this has everything to do with the fact that throughout the last few hundred years, the phenomenon of mass formation became increasingly strong. Before that, masses existed as well. Masses or crowds, which are a very specific kind of group dynamic, existed as well. They have always existed. There has always been masses as long as mankind exists. But for one reason or another, throughout the last few hundred years, the phenomenon of mass formation became increasingly strong until it became so strong that it actually became the guiding principle, or that it took over control in society. And when that happened, the first totalitarian states emerged. And which implies that a totalitarian state is much more influential, has much more grip on the private life of people than a classical dictatorship, just because it exists of this population, or just because the point of gravity of a totalitarian state is situated in this large part of the population, usually about 30%, who really fanatically believes in the state ideology or in the narrative that created the masses. And in this way, almost in every family, there are one or more people who fanatically believe in the state narrative and thus form like a kind of huge secret police. Hannah Arendt said, a totalitarian, the largest segment of the secret police in a totalitarian state is just the part of the population that is in the process of mass formation. That explains why a totalitarian state is much more destructive at the level of private life than a classical dictatorship.